Okay, this is function notation. Function notation is nothing hard. It looks very scary. Like when you see this f with x in parentheses thing, it looks really weird. But just keep in mind, whenever you see that, all it really means is y equals. All right? Whenever you see an f and the x in parentheses, that's not a weird multiplication thing. It's just y equals. And the calculator, when you go to the graph screen to put an equation in, you see this. And all that means there is y equals, and you can put in the rest of your equation. All right? So one thing I want to point out right now before we get into the notes is the difference between when you have a number in the parentheses and when you have a number outside the parentheses. I'm going to give you an example. If I had f of x, and that's the way you say it, f of x equals 5. What did I say f of x actually means? Y. So all this is y equals 5. So they're giving you a y value of 5. That's your Roy D number. Remember the Roy D cal, the up and down cal? And they may ask you to figure out what the x is that goes with it. But when you see something like this, f of x equals 5, you know they're giving you the y value. I could also have something like this. If I had f of 5 equals, you see the difference? If they put the 5 in the parenthesis in place of that x, they're giving me the x value, not the y value. Do you see the difference? That's function notation in a nutshell, okay? You're going to see stuff like this. All you got to know is they're giving you a y value of 5. If they give you something like this with the 5 in the place of that x, they're giving you an x value of 5, okay? So keep that in mind. I'm going to come back to this sticky note here in a minute when we get to some of those. Okay, and actually there's one right here. If it says f of 5, notice the 5 is in the parentheses. They're giving me an x value of 5. Okay? And on letter B, f of negative 3, they're giving me an x value of negative 3. The good news about both of these is I can put this in the calculator. Negative 3x minus 12. I'm going to go ahead and go to my graph screen. I'm going to dock B to get rid of the old stuff. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to put in negative 3x minus 12. Negative 3x minus 12. I can graph it. There's my line. And how do I go to the table? Control T. Basically, I can get all the answers here. They're giving me an x value of 5. I look for 5 in the x column. And there it is. What's my y value? Negative 27. Okay, negative 27. And then for the other one, I don't have to put in a new equation. This goes with the same equation. When I look for negative 3 for my x, I'll scroll up and look at negative 3. And I have a negative 3 for my y as well. Okay? So once you put that in, if they're asking you several questions about the same equation, the good thing about the calculator is you can just pull up the table, scroll up and down, and get your values. Now, it's not exactly the same case for the third one. How come the third answer is not going to be on the table? First of all, is this going to be an x or a y? It's in the parentheses. They're giving me a number in the parentheses. They're giving me an x value. Okay? So this is an x value. But when I look at my table, I don't have any fractions in my x values for my table. Okay? So we got 2 out of 3 done. The third one we'll have to do by plugging it in. Here's my original equation, negative 3x minus 12. Instead of x, I'm going to leave a little parenthesis space to enter my value. This is negative 3 times 2/3. And then subtract 12. You can do all that in one step, but we're going to go to the other screen. You can push the little calculator button to go to your regular calculation screen. And I'm going to type in negative 3. And I'm going to multiply it by, you guys remember how to put a fraction in? Control divide. Control divide will put a fraction template. And I can put in my 2/3. right? And then our right arrow over to get out of that fraction, and then minus 12. Push enter, you get negative 14. So you guys see, even when you get something weird like a fraction, it's not a big deal when you have this calculator tool, okay, and you know how to use it. Okay, so that's number 1 all filled out. We're going to do number 2. Now, number 2 looks a little different. They don't have f of x, they have g of x. And there's no difference at all. That g of x is just like a y equals. Okay? So they're giving me g of 3, g of negative 2, and g of 0. Remember, when they're giving you, in the function notation, when they're giving you that number in the parentheses, they're giving you an x value, the first number in your order pair. So this is an x value, this is going to be an x value, that's going to be an x value. If we put this in our calculator and pull up the table, we'll get all 3 of those answers. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my graph. I need to clear out the old one. Go back to the graph. I'm going to put in x squared minus 2. How do I put in x squared? You could do a couple of different ways. We have to put in x using the bottom one, and then the squared button is right here by the little, kind of close to the equal sign. Now notice I still had to put in x. Just because it has x squared on the button, all that really does is put the exponent of 2 on the x that I entered, all right? So I have x squared, now I subtract 2, I have that, push enter. So there's my graph of my function. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and go to my table, Control T. When x is 3, y is 7. When x is negative 2, there's an x of negative 2, y is positive 2. When x is 0, y is negative 2. You see how we're doing all this? So honestly, there's not a lot of heavy lifting, meaning there's not a lot of real hard stuff you have to do on paper as long as you learn how to use your calculator well. Now, if we do need to plug it in individually and do the math, we could do that, but it sure saves time doing it all using the table and the graph. Okay, down to the next section. It says for numbers 3 through 6, determine the function value using the table below. Okay, what we're going to do is I'm going to put the table up and I'm going to go back to my little sticky note. Remember, if they're saying f of x equals a number, they're giving you the y. If they have f and then they have the number in the parentheses, they're giving you the x. So let's take a look, before we even look at the table above it, take a look at this one. Are they giving me an x here or a y? X. Yeah, they're giving me an x because they're putting the number in the parentheses. They're giving me the x. So this is an x. This one is also an x. Notice the difference. They don't have f of 6 here. They have f of 6 equals 6. Remember, whenever you have f of x, you can go ahead and just write y on top of that. That says y equals 6. They're giving me the y. And this says y equals 2. So they're giving me the y. Okay, the reason that's important, these are super easy, but they're also super easy. It's very easily you can get these wrong also. Because if you look on the wrong column at the wrong number, you look at the right number but you go to the wrong column, you're going to get an answer that's not really the right answer. Okay? So here I look for 0 on the left-hand side, and they want to find the y that goes with it. It's going to be 3. Now, if they had a 0 over here also, you don't want to look in the y column when they're giving you an x. That's why it's so important and why I'm making such a big deal of knowing whether you start with an x or a y, okay? Because it's easy to think it's the wrong one and then you get the wrong answer. Negative 2 is my x. The y that goes with that one is 1. Okay, now they gave me a y value of 6. So I'm looking for 6 over here on the right-hand column. The x that goes with that is 3. And then they're giving me a y value of 2. the x that goes with it is -1. Now, they were really, really nice and friendly, and they said find x when, find x when. That's not going to be, they're not going to be that friendly all the time, okay? It's pretty easy to know you're looking for x. But imagine that's not even there, and it just says, I have f of x equals 2. What's my missing counterpart? You'd have to know which one to get, okay? So does that make sense? Once you know which one you have, it's real easy just to pull the other one off the table. And we did the same thing on the calculator screen using the calculator table just a minute ago. Okay, the next part, they actually have a graph of a function, and this one's a weird looking graph. It's not a line. The function is, going down, negative slope, and then goes back up. It's just not a normal line that we're used to seeing, but it's still just a function, okay? And they're doing the same thing they did on the left-hand side. They're saying, find such and such. They're saying, if I give you the x, you find the y, and vice versa. So here the -4 is in the parentheses. They're giving you an x of -4. And they want to know the y that goes with it. How would I do that? X goes which way? Left and right or up and down? X goes left and right. Good. So that's the Dixie cow, the one that goes left and right. So what they're saying is go left 4. And now I go left 4. It doesn't mean the point is right here. It means when on my graph, when I have an x value of -4, which is right here, what is the y value on the graph when x is -4? There's the x. The y value is 2. All right? Same thing here. Find f of 6. They're saying when the x value is 6, what is the y value going to be? So I'm going to go 6 to the right. 2, 4, 6. That one just happens to be right on the axis because the y value is 0. Okay, the next one, find x when f of x equals 1. So they're giving you a y value of 1. So now I'm looking for 1 in the right-hand part of my ordered pair. Okay, that means I'm going up 1. If I go up 1, here's 2, so 1 will be halfway. Where is a y value of 1? Well, if I look at this whole, all these 1s here, there's a y value of 1. When y was 1, x is -2, right there. Find x when f of x equals -2. So they're giving me a y value of -2, which means on the y-axis I go down 2. And where is my graph at -2 on the y portion? There it is. So when y is -2, the x is +2. We doing okay? All right, 2 more, and then we'll go to the back. Is f of 5 positive or negative? This f of 5, is that 5 an x value or a y value? It's x because it's in the parenthesis. Whenever it's in the parenthesis with the function notation, they're giving you an x. So, when I go, what they're saying is, when I go to the x value of 5, is the y value that goes with it positive or negative? So let's go check it out. I think you're right. I go to 5. Where is my point on the graph when x is 5? There it is, and that 3 is positive. So that's positive. It's going to put a plus sign. Okay, what is the range of f of x? What in the world are they talking about? What is f of x? This entire graph is f of x. Remember, f of x just means the function of x. Okay? So what is range? Is range talking about x's or y's? Range is Roy D. Roy D is y's. So all they're wanting is, along this whole graph, give me all the y values. Now, later on, we're going to learn about this as a continuous graph, and there's going to be a way to show every single value. We're not doing that yet. All I want right now are just the y values in each ordered pair. So we have 2, we have 1, and I'll show you the way we're going to put it. Right now, we're just going to write the numbers down. We have 0, we have negative 2